That's cute. Hey, Luna, what's going on, gorgeous? I'm only going live because Mac pretty much ordered me to go live. Or be demanding I go live. What am I, her puppy? But I did get her live taken down, I think. So I guess I kind of owe it to her. Although she'll probably appeal. She'll probably win the appeal. Oh, did you
Why is
appeal?
that? No, if it were AI, it would be a lot quicker.
No, AI taking it down and it requires a manual review is the way I kind of think it is. But maybe I'm wrong. That was a,
Oh.
that was annoying. Marley is in my DMs right now saying she really did not know it's me. And I was like, really? And she said it was only like at the end where I said something kind of wild. She was like, wait, who is this person?
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
how did she not know my sexy account? What the hell? Do you know pickles stress me out?
Why?
Because they've got multiple names. So when someone asks me, which is not infrequent actually, when someone asks me to go to the store and get them picked, that I freak out because I'm like,
That's like German shit.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess like in Manhattan, like there's different types of shops. There's like Amish shops. There's like, and it stresses me
Yeah,
out
it's just
when
about the
someone asks me
shop.
to get one of them.
Did you hear that crunch?
Yeah, that was pretty crunchy.
I know, they're
Yeah,
so good.
Astral Atheist. I don't know if you know in New York, there's a place called Woodlawn, which is a very Irish place. And when you go up there, they cut her off.
Oh, wow.
It was her, not me, meaning I had the upper hand on that one. Who went in and said, "Did you cut me off?"
A lot of people have been.
Who? Name them.
Uh,
Why would Gay Lemon say that?
Also someone else, I can't remember, but it's like people who are friendlies.
Um, why? Why did they say, "Did you cut me off"?
Because I left your server.
Yeah, but Gay Lemon's not in the server.
Mm. Well, I talked about it briefly yesterday, but
Oh wow, that's a lot of moisture in your mouth right now. That was a lot.
what?
Maybe finish. I don't know. Maybe just swallow before you start talking. It
Okay,
was
so
like
when I shut up. So I briefly
listen,
mentioned.
people, if they've got an issue with you, message you. And if they're scared of the consequence of doing that, well, then maybe the issue isn't important enough to bring up. Like it's got to be one or two with you. And it's like if the issue is big enough, then bring it to their attention. If it's not big enough, why do you care? Like I
I think
don't
you
think
should just
people.
respond from now on with like a link to my Discord.
I mean, I feel like I have been doing that to some degree.
Well, I haven't gotten any messages, so
And like I just kind of feel like I don't think people understand how is not the perfect way of saying shit. Like you fuck up all the time. But
yeah.
I don't know, it's frustrating.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that people might, I don't know, like if people see us like live separately, they tweak.
Well,
I
you
think
went
that's
live.
why. I know I did go live because I saw your live was about Brie, but I just like I don't really like, care about the Brie stuff. I mean, I do, but I
I
don't
don't
like
as
have
well.
anything
I
to
agree with
say.
you. I agree with you. I don't enjoy the Bree stuff. Um, like I just to me it's like punching down. It's just that what I'm not liking is how much she keeps invalidating other people. Like, if it was just her hosting, she did finally admit that she did have a 4 hour live where she and her friends were calling me a pedo. Like, she finally at least admitted that, which was nice to get and that kind of shit. It has been really messing with me how much she keeps saying Magical is making this up, Brussels is making this up. That gaslighting, I don't know why it's so triggering to me because I guess I'm kind of looking at it from like Brussels' perspective. For Brussels to be called aggressive and unfair, it's like I don't know. It's really messing with me. Like I don't enjoy going after Brie. It does feel like punching down. Is being abusive to people, and like when I see her on her live, she gets off on being abusive. Like it's weird. I don't know. I don't know how to go
I
back and
will
forth.
say,
So I don't blame you. I did try
wait till
to
you.
at you in the comments, by the way, but when you come in, it's to look for you and the viewers, and you were gone within like 1 minute.
Yeah, that's weird. What were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, hey, do you want to join?
Oh. Well, I don't have anything to say about her other than that she's like friends with that one girl that I don't like, but like, oh well.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Candy Cane said, and is we all have issues. Having issues, like this whole idea of people being quote unquote problematic, to me is just a waste of space. I can't be bothered with calling out problematic people. Problematic is to me, like, if someone's racist, I don't call that problematic. If someone is pedophilic, I don't call that problematic. Agree with what it is someone says. And like, sorry, not sorry, but like, get a bigger issue. Like, the shit that like you have own personal triggers. But I recognize that people do have triggers, and like I try to avoid triggering them. I try to do my best to not trigger them, but I don't think I'm owed that I'm obligated not to talk about stuff that may trigger people. Like, how can we seriously do lives that talk about sexual assault on a regular basis and say that we won't ever do anything to trigger someone? Our entire life is a
And
triggering
that's
live,
the
for God's
kind of
sake.
crazy thing is that I feel like even when we like talk about things that might be controversial regarding that, not with opposition, but just like whenever we talk about like more nuanced things, like when no one's on the panel, like no one's ever like in the, I don't know. That's just like,
I do look. I think that some criticisms of you are definitely valid, right? I think that there's absolutely some stuff you do that should be called out.
I'm not saying that they're not
I
valid. I'm just saying I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's creator, but you're not a call out creator. They
Nope.
constantly conflate you and me. You don't go running around tone policing people. You don't go running around calling out bad people. That's not your platform. But people take my platform, put it on you, and they try to
Yep.
hold you to my standards. And that's where, like, I think people get really confused. And so
Yeah.
I do think that that becomes a problem. I think I do also genuinely believe a large part of the problem as well is the fact that
Well,
it
yeah,
builds
like we have
resentment.
like a shared.
Yeah, and it builds resentment. They like I've seen this over past 2.5 years. But just so you know, people in the request, we're not actually taking requests. This is just Mac and I ranting. Sorry, but part like I've seen this. This is not exaggeration. Over the past 2.5 years, there's no question that I have seen people deliver hate towards Mac, and the reason for it is lives. They feel stuck with Mac, and that resentment then they end up taking out on Mac, which I think is like so messed up. Like if you don't like Mac, your option is don't watch the lives, but don't watch me, in my opinion. So like I do think it's a mixture of there being valid criticisms of you with also people conflating the fact that I'm sort of like morally policing people and you're not. So like if I was going around doing
Oh,
bad
that's
things, I think
literally
it
what
would
I
be
was thinking about earlier
hypocritical.
today while I was in class. I was literally thinking about this, Irish. I was like, I never. I feel like okay, I feel like maybe also I'm frustrated because I'm like I would never say that or I would never do this or I would never do to your face. I'm never going to be like, "Oh, why did you like want X, Y, or Z to happen?" You know, like I just like feel like I never do that to other people. I feel like I don't give Brussels criticism on how she runs her lives. I don't give like criticism to Marley ever. Like I'm not in Marley's comments or like do that. So like why do people do it to me? That's what I don't like. Like I'm like, guys, I don't do this to you guys. Why do we I don't know. I'm just like, why do we do it to me?
I think the other part of it though is that I don't think people understand know if it's just their perspective because like they can only think from their own perspective, but for some reason they don't recognize that you and I and every other person who does lives, we are being tone policed, corrected, reprimanded by dozens of people through
Mm-hmm.
various different ways. Them doing call out lives on us, them joining our lives to call us out, them being in the comments calling us out, them sending us messages to call us out, them creating accounts to call us out. We have all of that. And for some reason, people just don't recognize that it's just a tremendous amount of pressure and criticism and hostility that you get, that when you're around people you consider friendlies, you don't want to also do that. You kind of,
It is, and it's also, you know how, okay, so yesterday Irish was telling me that I'm not very like sensitive with my words, which he's right, like I'm not.
I would say nuanced. I don't think you're very thoughtful with to some of the stuff you say for sure.
Okay, whatever he said, right? He was saying that yesterday to me, and he was like, you need to like figure out how to handle things like Brussels does and like Wolfie does because they're able to like handle problematic and like here's the thing, if you guys could like filter your like genuinely, you guys also need to learn for Brussels. Like Brussels is able to give criticism that I actually like don't like. That just needs to also like I feel like some people, if you genuinely want to give me criticism and you want me to listen to it, like if you tell Brussels to like tell me and she is willing to do so, then like it would actually get to me. Because Brussels just has this way about like being very diplomatic. I don't know if that makes sense.
I would say most of the issues I have towards you is usually just you not understanding why what you said could be hurtful to someone. It's not necessarily that I think what you said that at all. Like I don't think you should be reprimanded for that at all. And someone who wants to be like, "Hey, you need to think about the fact that this could hurt someone who's anorexic or you need to think about the fact this could hurt someone who's overweight." I understand all of that, right? Like I do understand those concerns, right? But I also don't think that you have to necessarily always cater to those concerns. I don't think you talk about your preference regarding how it is you look because personally, I would not want to be skinny. Mac wants to be skinny. I don't want to be skinny. So does me saying that I like being someone who's broad shouldered? Does that now, is someone going to tell me that that is harmful? That I like being someone who's broad shouldered? Does that now, is someone going to tell me that that is harmful? That I feel like people are demanding perfection. And
Yeah.
so, like Mac, most of my issues with you is that you usually are like, why would someone be hurt? That's the shit where I'm like Mac, most of my issues with you is that you usually are like, why would someone be hurt? That's the shit where I'm like, no, of course they'd be hurt. It's more so I think they need to manage their own fucking trigger. But like, it's when you're saying why would they be hurt by it, or it's where you don't see why they would be hurt, that's where I get in conflict with you. That's where I get annoyed by you. But like most of the time, I think people are just asking you to be more nuanced and more sensitive. And it's like, I just don't know if that's obligated. Like, there's lots of, like, why is it no one, let's put it this way, right? Let's be so fucking for real. Having that same conversation with Atlantic, not giving Atlantic catching strays, but let's be
Oh,
true, let's be
oh, but it's
fair.
so real.
But let's be
Atlantic's
so
if
fair.
if there's
Atlantic
one
says
person
things
more
that is
problematic
so
than
much
me.
more problematic with so less of a. It just feels a little disingenuous to me because it feels like we're demanding perfection out of people, but we're also recognizing that, and that's why I don't go around telling her to be a different person because I think you could classify if you want to classify Atlantic as an asshole. Absolutely, you wouldn't be wrong. Absolutely call Atlantic
I
an asshole. But like this idea of like having this entitlement to change people for the better, I just feel like I don't know, man. It's a little much.
I obviously agree with a lot of what you said, all of it. Um,
Even the part
I
where I said you can be dead wrong.
well, yes, I know that I could be wrong because you've told me that. You've told me how I'm wrong before, okay? And I know myself. Trust, I do.
She knows
But
what a disappointment she is.
oh my gosh, that's insane. You're gonna be hearing from my therapist one day, Irish. I swear to God. But no. So what I was gonna say was two things. One, I hate this, but and like this is never gonna make sense to people because it only makes sense in my brain. But I don't want like criticism to me that's like bullshit. And like unfortunately, like that's not gonna be the same standard for everyone. Cause like I don't mind taking criticism on like real things, but a lot of the things that I feel like come my way are bullshit. And I can't explain that to people. And obviously like that's subjective to like what I believe is bullshit versus having to find that on my own felt very like FOMO. So I'm very much having FOMO already.
Why?
Because
Because you're
you
not in
guys
the
always talk.
server?
Yes,
The
because
server
you
you
guys
chose
talk.
to listen?
Well, yes, because I can't adhere to your rule of not picking fights.
Correct. So all you have to do is not pick fights. That's all I'm asking you to do. That's it. Literally all I'm doing.
Okay, but some of it's not picking fights though. Like,
I understand. Just like you're asking people to be diplomatic like Brussels, I would ask you to be diplomatic like Brussels. You can't ask people to approach you one way when
I
you're.
know,
I
I don't
know.
know. It's
And
a
as I keep
problem.
telling you, you have to work on that.
It's a problem. I
I know,
can't
but the
like.
problem is in the server, you don't have any um not word respect. What's the word? Of how your identity creates a power imbalance that makes you very different from everyone else. And you think you're like everyone else in the server. And the truth is, anyone in that server would be more hesitant to call you out or to fight with you in the server because they would be fine for better or worse. We are considered sort of like people with power within the community. And for that reason, people don't treat us the same way. They're not going to want to give us feedback. They're not going to want to engage. What you're interpreting as passive aggressive is people having feelings, but are being fair about recognizing that you do have a lot of power that does cause people to be nervous. And I think you really need to appreciate that more. Or maybe you'd
Well,
understand why I have a double standard in the server. Like, why because if you were someone else, I wouldn't have timed you out from the server yesterday. If you were just like anyone else in the server who was
I
not a
didn't tell
creator,
people that you did that. That came out of your own mouth.
oh, I thought you said you did a live about this last night.
Well, I did a live, but I didn't say you timed me out because I didn't want to give them
Oh,
like reason to be mad at you.
all right. Well, you should have messaged me. But like, I wouldn't have timed you out because you would have been anyone else in the server. But because of the fact that secret chats to talk shit about me, of course I fucking know about it. I just feel like I have an obligation to like not take shit personal because like I understand that people are going to say bad things about me. I understand, have that understanding. You're not very tolerant of people venting and letting shit out. And like the truth is like I'd rather them like vent in my server than in their secret group chats. That's more healthy to me. But when you days and it doesn't affect how they overall see me, and that it can be healthy for them to let that out. You've not learned that lesson yet. And that's why you're butting heads with the fact that people are going to have feedback. Like when you said, I just don't want them to talk about me, it's like you don't realize our.
Oh, issue.
Yeah, well, I can give you viewing rights, just no talking rights, and that'll help you.
I'll think on that. Viewing rights. Oh
Mimi,
my
we
God.
have. Mimi, we have had chats set up. She's got a separate chat where she vents to me to two different groups of people. And then we have a chat set up to talk about max venting. So we have all these chats that are set up to allow her to vent. But
I
like she does like to use the server to vent. Like I literally told
okay, actually wait.
no, other people use the server in a much more social way, Mac. I'm not saying the way you
I
use it is
actually think
wrong.
I'm very social. I actually think I'm very social. Wait, no, so
Okay.
was I being stupid yesterday with my comment? Maybe. Was that also mostly a joke? Yes, but I know why you're mad about it. I get it cuz like if someone had responded to it, I would have responded
Thank
back. Like
you.
the fuck? And I
That's
get
the
that
first.
you didn't make that clear in the beginning messages, and I just looked down and I was driving home from fucking Aldi, and I was like, oh, Irish just timed me out from the server. Oh, Irish, like from shit that happened like a while ago. So you didn't make that clear, and it fucking made me mad. I was like, bro, like, what?
I
So
mean, I
that's why I was
wasn't very
mad.
clear. Yeah, I mean, fair. I wasn't very clear.
That's why I was mad. I was like, what the fuck did I get timed out for?
I mean, I thought you would have remembered the comment you made literally 20 minutes prior.
Well, also I made that as like mostly a joke, so I like wasn't remembering that that's what I said.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with the server is like, I would love for you to feel comfortable in the server. It makes me sad that you're not. It genuinely makes me sad that you don't feel safe in the server. And I don't blame you. Like, again, I don't think people in the server recognize how mentally taxing it is to have people constantly critiquing you. And for you to then go into a server that's meant to be a safe space where people are also critiquing you. And then people will be like saying, well, you know what? You need to be able to deal with this because, like, we just want to be able to, like, give you pointers and stuff. And it's like, if first of all, if you what empowers you to think that your pointers are actually useful or valid, right? That's point number one, right? I'm going to be. It's not important enough to DM me about it. It's probably not important enough. Like, if it's something that you think
Yeah.
is actually egregious, DM me about it. Like, I don't think anyone would say that I don't care. I don't. But like, DM me, and if it's not important enough for a DM, it's not important enough to put in the server because, like, you don't understand. Like, pick someone in the server right now, like any random person in the something wrong, and it's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And so, like, my general rule is that if it's not important enough to put it in a DM, like, just don't, just don't. Or just recognize that if it's not important enough to put it in a DM, like, just don't, just don't. Or just recognize, like, I'm able to put up with it at this point. Like, I'm used to going into the server and seeing people like saying, I wouldn't have done that, or should have to put up with it. They have to, but like, I don't think that's good. I don't endorse that. Like, I don't think it's healthy. In other words, like, I think it is very damaging for creators. And I just think, like, people need to be clear to everyone in the server. Keep doing exactly what you're doing as it pertains to me. Like, at this point, I deal with it. So, like, this is not feedback from the lives we do without them fucking up. Because most of the people who have the most to say are the people who would not be able to do the lives we do. And in many different ways. They would not, like, as much as it may look like we lack nuance, we have a lot of nuance to the point where, like, I don't know many white male creators who've been on TikTok for 2.5 years who haven't, like, ultimately fucked up in some major way.
Hmm.
And, like, respectfully, I don't think I've fucked up in some major way. And so I feel like I'm doing a pretty fucking all right job at this. I've had lots of people try to cancel me for stupid shit, but I don't think I've done anything that's really fucking egregious. And it's sort of like, I guarantee you, if most of you were doing this, you would get canceled in your first fucking week. You'd definitely be canceled within 3 months. And I just feel like I do validate where Mac is coming from in the sense that it can be exhausting having people who can't do what you do telling you how to do it better when the critiques, like, I don't know. I've not seen a ton of critiques that, like, to me seem, I don't know, like there's real harm that is taking place that is of a material nature, or I don't know.
I feel like people sometimes in the server and also on lives too, but maybe just mostly on the server, I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like people want to have like guys, I'm not a therapist. Talk forever. You could talk forever about all the nuances in every single situation. And like sometimes I like don't want to do that. I just want to talk about something I saw on TikTok and move on, or like saw like on the news and move on. Like I don't want to.
In a very nuanced way. Not every, like, it's just, it's unnatural. Like, And again, if you guys were doing these lives as often as we are, you would realize that putting that expectation on a person to be, I don't know, nuanced like that many hours of the week, it's that like I do see, and again, I want to reiterate, there's some shit that Mac does that is absolutely wrong. And like for anyone who thinks that I'm like nice to Mac, ask Mac. And she will say I'm a fucking nightmare. I'm constantly calling out Mac when I think she's
Was queen? Like, no, that's not what it is. Like,
yeah, and so like I do want to validate like I do think that there's definitely things where I think Mac is wrong. And like I don't really have an issue with people calling that kind of shit out. It's all the sort of other stuff that just feels it just feels so fucking unserious and parasocial. And again, like the way I look at it is how to say something or what not to say. Like I just don't
I
think I
feel
see it.
like
And like no hate to Wolfie, but like some of the shit out of her mouth, like even for our community, would be egregiously wrong. And I don't see people having the same energy towards Wolfie, which does make me scratch my head.
and
We have
sometimes,
people who
bro,
are
they okay.
requesting.
Sometimes they
Yeah, there's one person who has requested a couple of times I'm curious about, but then also Ken and Atlantic, who I'll bring up, but I do think I have to leave in about 6 minutes. But hang on, let me just.
That's fine. Yeah, what I was gonna say was like, I feel like even I don't know. I feel like even sometimes you get to say whatever the fuck you want. People are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, let's just continue on with our day. Sometimes you do say stupid shit though, and people get really mad. But I feel like a lot of the times you just get to say whatever the fuck you want, Irish, and then
I disagree with you on that.
maybe. Well, I
Mac,
don't know.
Mac,
I guess
that's where I don't
that's
think you're being.
recently.
That's where I don't think you're being fair. I think people call me out a lot. I also think that I have very open conversations with people. I also think I have calls with people in order to get their feedback. You don't do any of that stuff. So when you say people
I'm saying
treat
out in the
me,
open in like the server.
I mean, people talk about me in the server. I think a lot as well. I don't think people talk. Mac, I don't think
I
people
guess I don't
talk more
see
shit
it.
on you than me. I don't think that at all.
I guess I don't really see it though. I don't know why I'm not seeing that, but like I usually like you think that I'm not active in the server. I wasn't active. I was pretty active, but I don't
I
know.
genuinely think people call me out a lot personally. And like when you're saying like in the server, I mean, yeah, I feel like people have definitely called me out in the server. It
Yeah,
does tend to
nothing
be
like
though that
that.
it does tend to be though that Mac. I think the difference between you and I is I think I tend to call myself out a lot quicker, which is maybe what deflates a large part of it.
Hmm. Oh God, I'm scared.
What is it, Atlantic?
I think that the reason why they do that is because they feel like they can control you, but they know they can control me or someone like Wolfie. Because we say what we say, no fucks given. And if they give a shit for it, we don't give a fuck. Cry about it. But you are like, is that wrong to say? Oh my God.
But
No.
Mac's not like that though.
She's been doing that for the longest time.
I feel like that's been done because of me. Like I feel like I have made her high anxiety at this point.
Yeah, I do have high anxiety now about everything that I say.
So
And it
that's
is
what
100% because of me because I put a lot of the trauma I have that people are constantly trying to cancel me on Mac. And we've talked about that.
Well, yesterday I was really like, so I think Atlantic's talking a lot about like yesterday. Yesterday in my live, I didn't say that you timed me out or anything. I didn't say anything bad about you. The only thing I said was that if people had an issue with, and I was even scared to say this because I was like, bro, I swear to God, if someone's like, she was shit talking Irish, that's why I messaged you after. And I was like, I did have a live. So if anyone comes like crying to you, like they're mischaracterizing. But I said I was even scared yesterday to say that like I like don't go to Irish about issues you have with me. I'm just gonna tell him to like respond with my Discord link at that point.
yeah, but that's what I mean right there. Because I could sense the anxiety. when you were saying it's like you were scared, like you were like tiptoeing around things, and it's like people can sense that, and they're like, "Oh, we can control this one."
I look. I honestly, I think part of it as well is that people watch you so much, so they want you to be as good as possible. Is my guess. Oh, no problem, Mallory. I was curious as well. I'll drop you on that. Um, Whereas like Atlantic's not as popular as us, Mac.
Crazy. Insane. That's cancelable, honestly. But no, like, okay, so let me think. Okay, so Atlantic, no, so I actually think that some of you guys partake in like unintentional like infantilization, and you guys like want to fucking mold me into something because you guys I don't know, like I feel like that's got to be like some of it, like why people feel the need to always like say things to me but not to like Atlantic or Wolfie or any of the other people who I think that like other people just find scary-ish.
I think lots of people find you scary, Mac.
Yeah, lots of people do, yet they keep talking about me. So like how scary can they find me?
I don't know. I'll admit, like, I guess I haven't quite figured out why they talk about you and not someone like Atlantic or Wolfie. Because, like, I do think there's lots of people who think you're scary, and I do think there's lots of people who don't want to piss you off. And maybe it is the age.
I think from what I've seen, I think it's because they think that like like Wolfie and Atlantic like don't respond. They just don't care. They're like, like I said what I said, I'm gonna stand on it. And I think with like Mac maybe is that that you do respond, and I think that they view that as it's like getting under your skin. So it's like antagonizing maybe.
God, I hope that's not what it is.
I mean, I
Like, that
hope
would make
not.
me
I don't.
sad if that's what it is. Like, that's insidious.
That's just how I read it. I don't actually think that it like I think that I would that would just be how I read it. That they think because Mac responds to it or talks about it afterwards that it's like yeah, it's like getting under her skin, so it's like making it like
Yeah, they can control her.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, look it, we're getting a rise out of Mac. Like let's keep doing it." I don't know.
I, I do think a large part of it, for me anyway, I think is what Jem said. I really do think it's a lot to do with the fact that some people like Mac and not me, and some people like me and not Mac. And so they have resentment towards either one of us for being stuck with us.
I So RBG sent something. I don't know if you saw it. I saw it though. But
I disagree, but we won't focus on that.
so I fear that a lot of it is.
Oh, and muting you before you
No,
say something.
I'm not gonna say
Okay.
that. I was gonna say like I feel like some things that are I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of like performativism. Maybe. I don't
Put that
know.
in the comments, but I didn't have enough, characters to type the whole thing. I said that I think that a lot of people are just afraid of being canceled for saying the quote unquote wrong thing. So then they are hyper, you know, what's that word I'm looking for?
What do you
Hypersensitive?
mean
Hyper
by I want
cautious.
what do you mean Mac by performative? Like because I would argue that a majority of the people that follow Irish don't actually hold lives of their own. So what do you mean by performative?
What I mean by performative is that I feel like maybe some people just I don't know how to explain it
Well, can
really.
I give an example?
Yes, you can, because
So
I don't want to get in trouble.
Max Mac kind of got chastised or reprimanded for and we're not going to go into this conversation, but got chastised and or reprimanded for her take on CNC, consensual non-consent, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, and Wolfie knows that, like, I think she knows I'm not being disrespectful when I say this. Wolfie would more so advocate for the ethics of CNC, right? And arguably, Wolfie's take for a lot of people would be materially harmful. And yet, no one has tried to call out Wolfie or has brought heat to Wolfie on that. Yet they have with Mac because she was potentially engaging in kink shaming. And it just sort of feels like, if by performative, it's like, what is it, seeing the forest through the trees, that people would be like, Mac, how dare you kink shame? While at the same time saying or promoting the idea that CNC and what Mac was specifically trying to talk about was reenactment of violent grape. That her position was, let's not normalize that. And so I think that's what you mean by performative.
I think the thing too with the CNC conversation was that like I have a lot of knowledge about it, and I think that's probably why I don't get flack for that specifically.
I mean, but people wouldn't have known that, Wolfie. So I don't think that's what it is, right? Like, a
I
few
mean,
people know that.
some of
Yeah,
them
exactly. A
have if
few
they've
people
been in my
do.
lives late at night. But yeah, you're right. That's fair.
Yeah, but like most people don't know that. And so, like, I don't think that's what it is. Like, arguably, yeah, I think Mac's tone is definitely 100% part of the issue. Mac just sounds like a fucking rich white valley girl. Sorry, Mac. And I feel like your tone does actually contribute to 80% of your fucking problems.
But wait, Irish, I said I was way more like blunt and abrasive about that same topic, and no one says shit to me.
You also have a wait. What is your point though?
Nobody came after me for saying worse things about the same topic, but everybody came after Mac.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that, and arguably, Wolfie and Atlantic have the more harmful positions, arguably, and yet got no heat whatsoever. And so it is weird because I don't think it's about knowledge or experience, because I don't think most people would have been in have seen Wolfie hold those lives personally. And so I do think it's
You
something more than that.
participated in one. We had a whole argument about it.
Yeah, I did.
I
But I do think the
so
voice probably matters as well a lot. Well, no,
a
Atlantic, same
little.
fucking holds for you, true for you as well. You have a very condescending tone as well, Atlantic. Is that
Listen,
news to you, Atlantic?
I mean, so did
no,
I.
Yeah, exactly. No,
I
Wolfie,
just get
you try to, and sometimes you do, but Atlantic and Max, I think their tone definitely invites a lot of anger.
But
Well,
here's the
damn.
thing: people don't see it
Love
the other
the
way
tone
around.
policing, Irish.
People
No,
don't
I'm
see
not
it.
telling you to change it. I'm just saying why.
This is what bothers me. This is why I don't give a fuck. Okay, because yeah, what we're saying is triggering them, but they are they thinking about what they're saying is triggering us. No, they don't give a fuck. They just want to police us, but the other way around doesn't count. No, like I don't care.
Yeah, I do agree with that, Atlantic. Like in the regards to the conversation that they were just Irish just mentioned. Because I do feel like we were kind of, or me. I mean, Atlantic was like there saying crazy shit too, but more blunt than I was. But I would say I feel like maybe that's what pissed me off so much is people were like wanting me to consider their like triggers and like consider their like life before I consider my own first. And like, I don't know, it's like people wanted me to put that up like above, like put their triggers above my like personal beliefs, I guess.
And that's what I'm
I don't
saying
know.
about people not being responsible for their own personal triggers. So, for example, Mac, did she engage in kink shaming to some degree? Yes, absolutely, right? The way I look at it is, Mac talks about grape all the fucking time. Her having that position should not be crazy to someone. And so if you just stopped for one moment and saw it from her perspective, how could you complain about it? Like, I understand you'd have a different take, but how can you not understand that take? Same thing with the whole like RC thing. I understand people saying don't platform RC, but then also you aren't the person who RC went and told everyone about their schmexual assault and then made it a joke on TikTok. RC didn't do that to you. And so again, I feel like, yeah, is it wrong to platform certain people? Yes, absolutely. But you're not looking at it from the individual's perspective. You're dehumanizing the creators to some degree, I think.
That's
And
that's exactly what I was going to come up here to say. Is
okay.
one of the biggest things that we have to keep in mind is for a lot of people, the creators are their, I mean, for lack of a better word, form of entertainment. And when the creator goes off script, what they think that should be said, they feel they're entitled to voice their opinion about it. Sometimes they're not.
Yeah, I would also agree that like I was on the live for a little while afterwards where Mac was talking about it, and I had the same position as Mac, and her position, I feel like she made it very clear and she really like treaded lightly. This is just my take on it. I feel like she treaded really lightly and her take on it was not surprising in the slightest due to the topics and the things that she talks about. I was not surprised that she was what her position was and what she took on it. And yeah, I would agree. I think that there was things that like Atlantic said that were like more like blunt, especially
I
in
got DMs about Atlantic, but go
yeah,
on.
even in the Discord. And so it was really like odd that like Mac got so much flack for it because it just didn't surprise me at all what Mac's take was. And her take was very, very like clear and concise. And I hold the same view as Mac and I didn't say much, but I held the same view and there was nothing that was said about me being on that live either. So I don't know.
Can I really quickly say something? Just super quick. Um, so I don't know if Carlotta's here, but I saw that she was stressed before I left the server. And this like ties into what else I'm gonna say. But if someone wants to tell Carlotta, she's good. Like we're good. I promise. Like I feel like she kind of anytime I kind of talk about this, I feel like she fears that she's kind of one of the people who is like doing this. If someone could let her know that I don't think that at all. I actually don't have an issue with Carlotta like, at all. I think she just has anxiety. Please, someone let her know that because I left before I could like say it. Well, actually, I got timed out before I could say that. But and then what I wanted to say was like I see people like in my or in the comments and also in the comments of my last live, like freaking out, thinking like they're the ones who like caused whatever. Like it's not even just like one singular person. It's like a combination of annoying situations. It's not like a singular person who pissed me off. Um, so I just wanted to clear that up because everyone keeps trying to like guess like who is it? Like guys, it's just like me being annoyed. It's like not like it's not a big deal, you know?
Just assume that anytime that Max is upset, just blame me. I'll take the blame for it.
That would be
Oh my
amazing because
god.
normally I am. But I don't know. I do think there is a dehumanization part of it, and like I have come to realize that a lot of people who do follow these lives, they don't view me as a real person, and so by extension, there's no way they view Mac as a real person. We are just entertainment for them, and that makes me sad. I don't get mad about it, but like I know to avoid engaging in their rhetoric towards me because like when someone views you as entertainment, I don't know, you just pick up on it pretty damn quickly. They don't have your best interests at heart at all, and it really does make you feel objectified is not the right word because I think of that more sexual, but dehumanized. It does make you feel like you're a character that is on a stage and people are only interested in you entertaining them and they don't actually care about you as an individual. Because like I will say like Mac wanting to call out RC, I don't like RC. Is RC harmful? Yeah. Is platforming harmful? Could be. But like again, RC didn't do this deeply personal thing to you. And like are we really saying that we're not understanding that people are human and have human emotions that is going to cause them to do certain things that we wouldn't ordinarily think we would do or think is acceptable? Like, I don't know. I just think it's weird. Like, you guys see me get incredibly angry at people. And you often say, well, that makes sense because that person is abusive, that person is racist, or that person is whatever. But I'm doing that because I'm actually hurt. I'm a real person. Like I'm emotionally reacting to it, and it just feels like we're meant to like take away our emotions, our feelings, our own personal history, and it's like a very. It just feels like people want us to be very sanitized, and it's like I don't really. I wouldn't be me if I was that type of sanitized.
Well, I also think that people forget too that like when we're doing these lives or just in general talking about certain topics, like we like intersectionality is part of it. However, we're not always going to get it right. And I think that they forget that like we're going to make mistakes and we can't be perfect when we're like navigating these situations. And so I think that people put a lot of times like on the creators to like worry about their triggers when they have to be aware of their triggers. And if they don't like something that's being said or happening, people need to be better about minding those, moving on, scrolling on, whatever the case may be, and not place it on us like we weren't mindful that we like harmed them or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to me, people do that. I just don't think they do it for a lot of other people. Like, there's people who message me and they say that, like, when I yell, that sometimes they have to leave because they have a trigger for that, which I fully understand. And I don't like that I could be scary towards someone who has a history of being with a man who would be physically violent to them, and that me shouting triggers that. I don't like that, but they also recognize that there may be some overall utility and or I'm having an emotional human moment and they scroll out. And I know who those are. They message me. They tell me, "Hey, I had to dip out. Nothing to do with you," but they're managing their own personal triggers. Um
Yeah, and again, like we as creators, we try to again like be aware of that intersectionality and try to do the least amount of harm. But I say least amount because there's no way to do no harm, unfortunately. But we're crucified at it. We're crucified for it.
And that kind of defeats the purpose because the whole point of you coming on TikTok and doing your own thing is because you bring something different. You are different than other people, but it seems like they all want you to be the same. And I'm like,
I agree with that.
what's the point of that? If that's what you want, then you host your own live and you do that. But what's not okay is for you to tell the people how to host their life, how to talk, what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, because that takes your personality away.
Take it
That
even
that
further.
takes your personal truth away as well.
True.
Because
Yeah.
if my personal truth is I think and believe XYZ about this thing, that's my personal truth. You crying about it is not gonna change my mind about it.
Yeah, and I would agree. Kat said something really like good in the comments. She says that women are less likely to be allowed to or forgiven for making mistakes, are less allowed like or less likely to be allowed to make mistakes. And so I think that that holds true to a lot of this conversation as well. When it comes to the way that maybe Irish is treated versus like Mac when it comes to these types of things. So
I do want to add again when I talk about if you're not a creator, then you just don't get it. Like part of that is, for example, a lot of people will say that having RC up is harmful, right? And they will then turn that into a categorical truth. Therefore, that means we should never host RC. But then sometimes RC may come in the comments and he may be saying something, And that is a topic that we are currently focused on. And we prioritize in our own head, actually, I want to focus on that topic and I can use RC to do that. Or as a creator, if you've never done these lives, you wouldn't know. Sometimes we just need a soft chew toy as a palate cleanser. And RC is the perfect soft chew toy. He is so easy to dunk on that sometimes we just need like a palate cleanser between really toxic people where we can just thoroughly dunk and embarrass, humiliate, and just completely destroy someone that we know will be very easy to do so. It's
Yeah.
low hanging fruit. I'm
Yeah.
not proud of it, but sometimes we just bring them up because of the fact that like we just need that moment. We're going through a long period of having to deal with a lot of this shit and we just need a palate cleanser. And like if you're not someone who goes live a lot, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know the need to like do that periodically, that it is selfish. But if we didn't do that periodically, it would genuinely just be frustrating.
Yeah, they don't
But I
know
would
what it's
also,
like to be
sorry,
the
sorry,
the
Atlantic. Go
host
ahead.
of a live. They don't know what that's like. They just like to watch and criticize, but they don't know what it's like to actually be the one hosting the live and running the whole shit. And that's the thing that bothers me too. You're quick to throw out criticisms, but none of you do it yourselves. None of you. You couldn't even handle it.
Yeah, but I would also agree with the RC thing though. After the what he's done to Mac, I think that if if Mac wants to engage with him and have him up, I think that that is valid. So just like I would
Yeah,
agree with that.
the
Yeah,
only one I'm always going to agree on is this idea of saying who should be platformed or not drives me nuts. It's more so if you're platforming and normalizing someone. Like if you've got a bad person on your platform and you're treating them like they're a normal person, that shit I don't fuck with. Like that I think makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's okay though to not want to watch somebody who is continually saying harmful things. I mean, as the host, you are free obviously to do what you wish, but I feel like you have to understand that there might be criticism for it.
But when you say there's going to be criticism for it, why not just swipe on? Like we have
Not
people in our lives regularly talking about validating rape, validating pedophilia, saying the most horrific things all the time.
well because you know what he's saying.
Every
You
person
know
we
how
bring up,
harmful.
we think is going to be doing that, though, Nicole.
Well, I mean, I'm saying you know how harmful he has been to certain members of your community. And like inviting that back in seems like you you're allowing that. Like again, I'm just saying I don't understand it, but I'm free to like change the like I'm not telling you not to do it, right? If you decide to host RC, that's all your right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that people having criticism seems normal.
Wait, but this is true basically of any op that comes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That
confused about.
logic can apply to any op.
Yeah,
That
because we argue with ops. I mean, the topics that we're arguing are pretty gnarly topics, and sometimes things can get really like intense, especially like when you're talking about grape and you're talking about those kinds of things. Like, I would agree that that can be applied to any op, and I think that that's where people's triggers come into place, and that if they are unfavorable of that conversation, then they need to move on and find a different, like a different host or something for that time being or whatnot. Like
So
we would
yeah,
never be able to have conversations with ops if we kicked every op off because they were harmful. Like every op that we talk to is harmful.
I'm not saying that like I'm saying the level of harm is different and the way he spreads it is different. I don't think we can compare RC to a regular op. And I don't think that we are aware of the amount of harm a regular op is going to cause as we know the knowledge and how RC operates.
Wait, I guess I'm a little confused because I don't think of
But
RC as being more harmful than other people.
well, but also like if you're just
That might be
like if
your
Irish and Mac are just dunking on him, then whatever follower base he has is just going to see him being proven wrong. So I feel like that's just like more people to see what a dummy RC is. Like I don't
Right.
see why that's a
I
bad
don't
thing.
know. I feel like RC has said some really like blatant racism towards black people. He has made some awful comments. And so
Okay.
as a black person in your community, I just feel why do we keep inviting this up and listening to these comments?
I mean, let's be super clear. We don't keep inviting this up. Like, this has not been a recurring issue,
I'm
right?
just saying
Yeah,
in
but
general.
just to be clear, though, but it has not been a recurring issue. But more so, wouldn't the same thing apply to Brie?
Yeah, but we don't really
So
have.
why is no one saying the same thing about Brie? Is my point. Like, doesn't this apply to almost everyone who's in our lives? Aren't they all categorically disgusting, horrible people?
Yeah,
Like,
Well,
isn't that
so
the
they
point of the
are.
lives?
They are.
well,
Well,
so
my question
Well, hang
is,
on. Let Nicole. Hang on. I do
yeah,
want
go
Nicole
ahead,
to
fair enough.
respond, though. Yeah.
So I do think the difference between Brie and RC is that one, when we talk to Brie, I don't think Brie really comes to our pages. We usually goes to hers. The second thing is that RC has a bigger let me try to find the word, a bigger,
Platform.
I guess, following. Yeah, kind of following on TikTok, and he's more well known.
But wouldn't that
I
apply to Peterson or Bobby or to Quinn or any of the other people who had hundreds of thousands of followers that I called out?
Yes, but
That's
you're
what I'm
not.
trying to understand. Go ahead.
But it's not calling RC out. You're. I feel like I'm getting. I'm not being heard
When you say
right.
it's not calling RC out, like we're not having conversations with RC.
So, if I remember correctly, RC only came up twice, or maybe three times. The first time was for Mac for the apology, which I completely understood. I think there was a second time, or she asked you if you wanted him up or something. I don't really remember.
He was on my
And I,
live as well.
right.
Yeah.
And I remember putting in the Discord, like, why do we keep inviting him up?
Yeah.
And my point of that was strictly wondering, after such harmful things are being said, I don't understand the reason of platforming him. If we have Bobby and we have whoever keep saying some straight like Nazi stuff, I don't understand why we need to be hearing that over and over again, because that's what RC does. He says the same things over and over and over again. There's no actual debate, there's no actual logic in any of his comments. It's just straight bigotry. With Bobby and with other people we actually call out, we have receipts, we have things that we're doing to
I
try to
think
educate people.
I think I kind of agree, and I think a lot of us do, that when someone just seems to be a straight up bigot, there's usually not much utility in platforming them. And we have a list of those people. And so I don't think you and I are really distant on that. I do think maybe part of the reason why RC is maybe treated a little bit differently in that regard is that we have seen their progression. And 2 years ago, they were not saying this stuff. 2 years ago, they were not going around being overtly homophobic. And I think maybe that does create a bias in my part. I can't speak for Mac. That I can try to like get him to think more rationally again. Maybe it's creating some sort of bias because I do agree with you generally. I don't think most of us platform ignorant bigots.
Right, but who
When it
decides? Who
I,
decides?
I, I do want to ask this question.
the one last thing I was going to say, the one reason why I do sometimes validate platforming RC though is dunking on him. I hope to be showing the people who may be following him that he's an idiot and it's embarrassing. I try to denormalize him. That is part of my motivation. And if people think it's overall more harmful than not, like I understand maybe the argument, but I don't think it's all that different from other people. But sorry, go ahead, Ernesto.
Well, my thing is that, and here's the question, because I haven't seen how overtly racist he's been and bigoted on Irish's or Mac's platform. If he's done that on other platforms, um, yeah, I see that. But if he has done that um, in any
He's
form, he
no,
would
he
get
did.
pushback from it. But
Yeah,
does he not
he
get pushback from any either Irish or Mac or anybody else who's on the panel?
I mean, yes, but it's so I was on the panel with I don't remember who else was on the panel with me. I think maybe Brussels was. There's a couple other black women on the panel. And he literally told us that black women smell because our hair.
Yeah, I remember that line.
Um so I just feel like after, insulting and saying that to multiple black women, I think it's fair that if you have him up that we might feel some type of way. I don't think, of course, we can scroll along. Of course, we don't have to watch. But I think it's a natural reaction for us to not want to watch that or
I
him
no,
again.
I'm not disagreeing with that part. I guess what I'm trying to understand is why doesn't that logic apply to everyone else that we panel? That's what I'm not understanding. Because everyone else we panel will say things such as women bring rape on themselves,
Maybe,
right? That's what I'm not.
maybe I think Nicole might be getting at that there's like levels of harm. I think I don't think harm just means like one thing. I think there can be certain people can be more harmful to certain groups of people or etc. And I think that maybe that's kind of where Nicole's coming from. That like yeah, these other groups are harmful and these other ops are harmful, but this particular opt is harming this community in a certain way to an extent that maybe others aren't. But I could be totally just miscategorizing what she's
Yeah,
saying.
I do agree, Ken. And it is also, like Wasabi said, it's also the repeated harm. It's also not only harm that he has towards women, but also towards multiple other communities. It's also the frequency that it happens. So it's like he doesn't like with other ops. You might be able to say, okay, when I mean, they may not be racist, but they say horrible things about women. Not that that's right, but I'm just saying, like with RC, it's everything. He doesn't say anything that is actually not harmful.
Like almost every op, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm confused by. Like, it's rare that I'm talking to an op where they say one thing. I'm like, you know what, I agree with you on that part, but hey, this other
Not
part is.
saying you agree with them, but the level, like Ken said, the level of harm, the way he's saying it, how he says it. I mean, I haven't heard not very many other people on your panel say something so specifically disgusting about black women to black women.
I mean, they say disgusting things about just women in general, period. And if we were to apply this logic, then we shouldn't let any op up. And also, this is what I'm gonna say. It goes back to what I said earlier. The host of the live is the one that decides who they let up and who they don't let up. If the host finds a utility to let that person up, then that's their right to do so. It's their live.
Well, I think Nicole's
Never
saying you have the
disagreed
right to
with
do
that.
it. Yeah, Nicole's
Yeah.
saying you have a right to do it, right? What Nicole is simply questioning is whether or not it is helpful to do it. I guess I'm really struggling because like the men who are in the lives are overwhelmingly uniformly disgusting people who are preaching horrible things.
I
The
also
idea
think,
that we go ahead.
just real quick, I also think a lot of us as women know that when we enter your life or Mac's live, or anybody on this panel's live, that we know what we are expecting, that we are going to be talking to specific men who think specific thoughts about women. Um, I think that when it comes to RC, uh, it's kind of like anything goes. He could be attacking any kind of minority group, as opposed to kind of like knowing what to expect when they say horrible things about women. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like we are
I mean,
expecting these
I
things.
think what you're saying is we're primed for men who are going to be violent and misogynistic against women, but people who may be violently ableist, or people who may be violently homophobic, or people who may be violently racist, the community is not primed for that, and therefore that's what separates him.
Or that's just the bigger impact, I think.
Nicole, I hear what you're saying, Nicole, but take it from someone like me who's been hosting trans lives for like 4 years. The most vile, disgusting things that you can ever think of has been said to me about me and people that are like me. And if I were, again, to apply this logic to, let's say, my lives, nobody comes up. Nobody. Then what's the point of me hosting a live then?
I'm not saying how you should host your lives.
But you are,
Um,
though, low key. You kind of
I
are.
I am not. I'm really not. Because if you want to host lives like that, I simply just won't watch. Like that's my right. That's your right and that's my right. I'm just saying generally, I don't understand RC specifically and people like RC being platformed.
I mean, I think I can explain it. Like you say that it happens a lot. Like respectfully, as you said, it happened two times, and one time was an apology, which I think was the last time. Wasn't that the last one?
I don't remember exactly. I don't
I,
remember
I-
the
I'm
order
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was the last one, and like I'm pretty
It
sure
was the last
that
one.
yeah, because Mac I know knew that RC has gone around on an apology tour and felt as though she had been specifically wronged by him. And I believe that she was feeling really invalidated based on the fact that he had not apologized. So, as far as I know, we only let RC in for those reasons from what I can recall. But like you're making it sound like we bring him up in order for him to spread his racism or his other rhetoric. And like I
Okay,
don't
then
feel like we
let me please
platform
correct that right
RC a
now.
lot at all.
Yeah, let me correct that. That is not what I mean at all. I do not want that to be my intent, like my saying. Like I'm not trying to say that. Like that's not what I'm trying to express at all. I know that it was only like
Let me
one, two,
rephrase
three
it. Is there
times.
someone else other than RC?
Platform, no. No,
Is
not that
RC
I've
the
seen.
only person we're talking about?
It's the only person I can really think of.
Okay, well then, like I
Just
think
because
when
of
go ahead.
just because of his notoriety on the app, just because of what he actually says, just because of how he only says sorry, my throat, bigotry things. Um, you know what you are gonna get as soon as he comes up, and for me personally, it is all within a host's right. But for me personally, I do not see the positivity of bringing
Nicole,
him
I
if you
on.
guess what I'm
want,
confused. Well, hang on. I guess what I'm confused by is you have heard what the specific reason was now. So like this is
Yeah,
where
I
this is,
just
but this
simply
is
don't agree.
okay. So I want you to say it, and I'm not trying to bully you, but I want you to say, Mac, the fact that you confided in RC about your grape, and then he took that and he
No,
took it. Well, hang on, and then he took that story, he shared that and made it public, and then held alive with Tyler Bluntman, where he then
wait, no,
blamed
no,
you and
no. I
said that.
already said.
Hang on, no, let me finish. He then blamed you and said that the next woman that he grapes will be because of you, Mac. The fact that he did that and whatever it is that hurt you as a result of that, you should have deprioritized that and not hosted him. Because if you're not going to say that, Nicole, I'm not coming at you. But if you're
No, but
not
I
going to,
already
but if you're not
said
going to
that
say
Mac
that,
had
I'm
a.
not. But hang on, if you're not going to say that, then I guess I'm just not tracking so much.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
ask, like,
no, because
Nicole. Wait,
I already
Well, hang
Nicole.
said to
on,
Mac.
Nicole can respond because I do. Like, I genuinely want to understand because, like, that's why I don't think it's an issue. Like to me, I understand why
Wait,
this was
no,
personal.
no, no, no. That's not. That's not. I already told Mac. And even in this live talking to you, I've already said that I understood that, and I understood why Mac did it. I get that, and I'm happy she got the apology. I've told her personally that I was happy she got it, that she got the apology. Um, that is not what I'm saying. That was something personal to her, and that's something that she needed, and I respect that. That's something different. I'm talking about just bringing him up just to bring him up.
That's my point. I
That's
don't
not
think
what
we
I was
have brought him
expecting.
up just to bring him up.
But Nicole, can I ask you a question now?
Well, hang on. Can Bree? Sorry, one moment. Nicole, I don't think we have brought him up just to bring up. RC is in that bucket of category. Is in that bucket of people that like Lucho is in, or
Hmm.
Adam He-Man is in, or Manimal is in,
I thought,
where they are just bigoted to the point that we ordinarily just don't engage.
Hmm. Can I ask my question now?
Well, hang on, Nicole. Like you're making it sound like we have brought him up, and what I'm trying to say is, I'm pretty sure the first time was Mac wanted the apology, but didn't make it a big deal during that live, and then the second time she made it a bigger deal to get that apology. She brought up the apology on both lives, though.
okay, maybe I wasn't aware that both times were for the apology.
Well,
Um,
if you could just take a moment and just like think for a moment, right? If you were Mac, right? I want you to really just think for a moment. If you were Mac and RC had done that to you, you understand that when RC joins her live, that's the first thing that's coming to her head, right? So like if you had really understood like or empathized with what he had done to her, how could you not understand? And I'm not coming at you at all, Nicole. I think you're fucking lovely, right? But how could you not have understood that she likely brought him up for that reason? Do you know what I mean? Like you should have been
so
like I would have thought you'd fill in that blank if you know what I mean.
so the the first time I saw him was another time where she was trying to get an apology out of him. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know what had happened between them. Um, my intention, I don't.
Oh, your intention?
Nicole, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say because I feel like I've been very, very clear about my position. And I feel like now it's being kind of like twisted that like I'm trying to do something nefarious towards Mac. When
Wait.
that
How did
was,
I? Hang on, that's not fair. How did I twist your position? I didn't. I didn't twist your. I like you a lot, right? I'm not twisting your position. What I'm saying is like I'm putting more bluntly what it is you're saying because I don't think you're understanding what you're saying. Your perspective, which is totally valid, RC is a horrible person, right? That's your perspective. But you're not recognizing that Mac views it from the perspective RC personally hurt me. And all I'm simply trying to point out is that if you're able to step out of your perspective for a moment and view it from her perspective, then I don't think her actions are insane or illogical or not understandable.
But it's
You
her.
may be like, "Hey, I don't want to deal with it," but I think they're completely understandable. Like I'll give you another example with RC. Will I potentially platform RC in the future? There's definitely a possibility I will. The reason would be, though, is because I have personal history with RC that impacts or reflects how it is I view RC and what it is that I hope for RC one way or another. And I'm just saying that, like, I think you're sort of imposing your perspective on
Mhm.
the other people without really giving room for them to have their own personal histories and or their own personal perspective that may conflict with yours.
Right. Can I ask the question now, please?
Sure.
Nicole, if you could have it your way, would you want Irish or Mac to platform RC? Yes or no?
I don't really know how to answer that because it's not really my place. I
No, but you can
I
have it
don't
your
want
way.
RC on the app probably period though. So maybe probably not, but like that's not really what I'm trying to say here. And I feel like I've been very clear that I don't think he should be platformed, period.
So you wouldn't want them to platform RC at all, period, right? And
I mean, I guess so, if that's what you're trying to like make it narrowed minded towards them, but it's not just a them thing, it's a him thing.
I don't know why you just can't say I don't want you guys platforming him.
Yeah, she doesn't want us. Why are you asking a question? She doesn't want us to, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, I don't know why she's dancing around that. Like,
It's
it's okay.
because I think you're misconstruing what I'm trying to
I'm
say.
not. That's
It's
what you want. That's what you're saying.
no, because it's not about Mac and Irish. It's about him. I don't think he should be on TikTok. So
And therefore you don't think hosts should platform him.
sure.
It's tomato,
I'm
tomato.
yeah, I'm not Nicole, I'm not trying to corner you or misconstrue what you're saying. I'm genuinely not.
Yeah, like, listen, if I felt the way that you felt, which I have in the past about other people, I will literally tell them, you shouldn't be platforming this mother fluffer. But at the end of the day, it's not up to me because it's not my life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've never told. Sorry, I never told them that they shouldn't platform him. That those words haven't come out of my mouth. In
I'm,
fact, I said multiple times, if you want to platform him,
I
that's
didn't say
fine.
that you said that. I'm saying if that's how I feel, that's what I'm going to express because that's my truth, right? But then at the same time, acknowledge, which you already have, it's your life at the end of the day. You do whatever you want. But the problem that I have is that I know what happens after. It's harmful. It's doing a lot of harm. And people are being offended and it's blah, 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 blah. And then that's a whole nother because that's happened before. I know where this goes.
Wait, what do you mean?
Then it
I think
becomes
it's
about
fair. I think it's
policing.
fair if Nicole, though, Atlantic feels that way, though, because
I'm not
things
saying that
that
she can't
he's
feel that way. I never said that she can. I'm saying
no,
that
but I know it was just what you said, how you right now afterwards, like as if like her feelings of feeling that it is harmful are like minimized by how you categorized like what you just said. That's why.
no, what
So
I'm saying is that it becomes about policing the live.
Well, Nicole, so Nicole, and everyone in the comments, just to be super clear, I really like Nicole. Nicole and I don't have any issues. So everyone in the comments, relax, okay? Um,
If I could
Nicole,
just
yeah,
state
go
my
ahead.
opinion one more time to make it clear, I feel like anybody can platform who they want. However, when it comes to specifically RC, he has said such harmful things and does such harmful things that I personally don't think he should be platformed. Now, because
Okay.
of that, I do not watch or engage when he is being platformed. He is a harmful person, and I don't think he should be platformed on lives.
I understand that and I respect that part, right?
And Irish, you were saying that Max had a personal reason why she wanted to platform him. I understood that. I understand you were saying you might have personal reasons why you want to platform him, and that is valid, right? So I should be looking at other people's points of view as well,
No,
right? That's your point.
yeah, no, I guess what I'm confused by is like I validate if you're saying that you don't want to see him platform. I validate if you're saying that you don't want to see lives where he's platformed. I'm not like that's totally valid, right? I guess what I'm not understanding, and I think where Atlantic is maybe trying to ask is, are you therefore saying that we should not, or otherwise, like I'm not really sure what the next step is because I agree if there's certain people. So for example, like Atlantic hosts people who I would never host. I don't host Manimal. I don't host any of those fucking cretin cave dwellers. I just don't understand the point of it, right? But like I just scroll on. Do you know what I mean? And so I've never reached out to Atlantic to say I don't think there's merit in you hosting that person and you should like generally speaking like I just never did that because I just assume that
I have
they
my reasons.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to trust that they have. I don't think Atlantic as being a bad faith person, right? I think of Atlantic generally speaking as being a good faith person who can fuck up without question, but a good faith person, right? And so I guess what I'm asking then, Nicole, is like, what's the next step? Like, I understand some people will not agree, right? But what's the next step on top of that?
I'm not quite
Do you know
sure
what I'm
what you
saying?
mean. Next
Well,
step
so
for
you're you
me
you
or next
joined
step?
to, well, you joined to say I don't like him being platformed. Okay. But like we know some people wouldn't necessarily like that, and that's totally fair for you to have that, expectation for
Because
yourself, right? But by
I
you
only
joining, go ahead.
I only joined because you had mentioned that specifically. Um and I knew I was the one who brought it up. And so I had brought it up in the Discord that specifically I don't know why people platform him. And I said that because I didn't understand why people platform him, but you've explained it to me. Um, yeah.
Oh, you were the person in the Discord who said it. Sorry, I didn't pick up on that part. Okay, understood. Okay, so now it's making a little bit more sense. Okay, so do you understand? First of all, I totally validate where you're coming from. I totally know why you're saying what you're saying, right? Do you understand why that would be triggering from Mac's standpoint, that she's dealing with a very, very personal issue and she doesn't have 2 minutes to pop in and explain it to everyone and give everyone the context and give everyone the backstory, and that's why it would be invalidating for her to have people questioning her platforming that person?
Right. No, I agree. And she also doesn't owe anybody that story. Um, so I understand that. I was unaware that they had any history.
Yeah, why would you?
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I do think generally speaking, I do feel like people need to, if you're going to follow a creator, I do think there has to be some degree of good faith granted. And that good faith can be abused without question. Good faith is not a free pass, but good faith to be like, this person has generally done the right thing. So let me not prejudge or not let me second guess in this moment. So, for example, I don't know if you noticed, but when I have a guy up here who's like a toxic person and I'm coddling them, do you know how much the people in the Discord are pissing me off by complaining about me coddling? But then you have people who've been watching me for a year or more, also in the Discord, saying, chill, he's going to get there. And there's people who don't respect that there's a process and they prejudge where I'm going with something. Or, for example, when Artemis, Artemis and the Schmatzi. When I give Artemis 48 hours to come out and take accountability by reaching out to me in DMs and we can settle this, I had a whole bunch of people message me saying, why are you making deals with Schmatzis? But then you had OGs who were like, Irish wouldn't make a deal with a Schmatzi. He's probably got a good reason for doing it. And I did. I was never going to make a deal. The whole point was to show how it was to provoke them to show their true colors. And it worked. And so my point is I do think that if we follow certain creators, there has to be some degree of good faith granted, that we may not simply know everything that's going on. And if we see that good faith being abused, then I think that should be called out because you shouldn't get a free pass. But I do think it could be a bit exhausting when we're constantly being questioned, and we're sort of like building up to something. So like I think that's sort of the frustration that Mac is expressing. But you, on the flip side, Nicole, you feeling disgusted that someone like that being platformed is also valid.
Right, I was just more so talking about like I was worried about it becoming about live policing, which I don't like that.
Well, no, I'm not doing that at all. It honestly was just a question of curiosity. Like literally, why are we platforming such a harmful person? Um, I can understand why you may platform him. Um, but I don't necessarily. I mean, with Mac, I get it. Um, with you, Irish, I understand you have some sort of relationship with him, and that's your own thing. But I don't necessarily agree And that's, I feel like that's my right. Um,
Yeah,
that I
I'm not saying it's not your right.
so what I guess what I'm saying is that like for me personally, I just won't engage in those situations. Not that I have like not that I believe you're in bad faith or anything is my point. Like I understand that you have your own reasons and not that like you are trying to do harmful things, but like just for me personally, I don't think that it's a good life for me to sit in.
Yeah, I mean that's valid. Like absolutely scroll out during those sort of situations.
Right, that's what I do. Like when my friends are hosting lives and they have people that I despise, that I just think that they're the most harmful people on this fucking app, I just leave. I don't sit there, I don't tell them like what the hell are you doing? I just freaking leave. And I'll come
I
back
think
later.
I think I just wanted a some better understanding due to the fact that we know the kind of bigot he is. I just wanted better understanding into some of the thought processes behind it.
And my response would be, I think we generally agree that there's some people who are so unequivocally bad and or brain rotted that there's literally no benefit in ever platforming them at all. And I think ethically we think about this a ton. Like there's certain people who I don't go into their lives because I know I'm going to give them a platform. And I've learned this after a certain amount of time, the better way to deal with this kind of stuff. So I agree with you generally speaking. There are some people where it is a waste of time and or more harm than good in order to engage. I will say that if you see us break that rule, it is usually because there's something else going on. It's not that we don't agree with that rule, it's that there is nuance to that rule or that there's things that may derail that rule. And so in the case of RC, RC had personally harmed Mac. And I think that was one exception there. For another exception when it comes to RC, I'm a big fucking person who like hopes for the best. And you don't know all the history between RC and I, but it kills me what it is he did to his family. And like you don't know all the lore from 2 years ago, where I was going to literally meet up in order to have him reconcile with his gay uncle, who's the only person who's ever given a shit about him. And it has been deplorable to me how since then he's come out as a raging homophobe. And like I feel some weird personal attachment to that. I feel some obligation to undo that in some fucking weird way. It's not right of me, maybe, and maybe egotistical of me, but I could tell you I fucking feel that. And that's going to sometimes lead me to override that general rule that I think there's some people not worth platforming. I also think there's also another rule that does apply to RC, generally speaking, which is I do think when some people are overtly harmful, but they have bigger platforms, I do think there is some utility in calling them out. And I think it's to delegitimize them, to embarrass them, to make them look stupid, to show people how to deconstruct their points in order to dunk on them, in order to make some people in the comments feel validated by seeing that person being destroyed. And, that changes. Like, as a host, you just kind of use your judgment to determine when to do that and when not to do that. So I, I agree with your general concern. I just don't view it as a bright line rule. And I think like some creators are going to fuck up sometimes, and some creators are going to violate what seem to be categorical rules for the fact that they have conflicting goals or desires, if that makes sense.
I understand. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think, yeah, despite the fact everyone in the comments wants us to fight, like, I don't think you're in bad faith. Like, I think you want to generally reduce harm. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think there's 100 different reasons why someone would have bad people up there that even though they may agree with you generally speaking, that I don't know. To me, it's more so is there a pattern of that being abused? Like an example of that is Bree, in my opinion, Bree has platformed as opposition lots of people who are overtly bigoted and lots of people who are overtly sexist. And as a result of that, 2 years later, she's now friends with these people. And so, like, I agree, there's a slippery slope where you can go from letting on a couple of these people to then all of a sudden letting it on that it's so normal that they become people you're friendly with. So, like, I
Right.
fully understand that concern, but like, I guess, like, if that's a concern you have with me or
Right.
Mac,
Yeah.
Hmm.
share it. Otherwise, like, I think, you know,
I get that part because I've seen a lot of trans creators on here who are friends with like the most fucking transphobic people, and they be up their platforms like Key King, and I'm like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. That's not a safe person to be around. That I understand.
I've had conversations. I had a conversation with Echo
Mm-hmm.
a year ago or something where I said your desire to be in the middle is going to make you unsafe to people who are on the left, and you're going to ultimately
Mm-hmm.
be left surrounded by all the bigots. And I think
Right.
Echo took that to heart.
Mm-hmm. So I get that part right there. But like for someone like me or like Irish, we hardly ever platform these people. Hardly ever. I think that generally we won't have them up. So
I
you know what I
appreciate the
mean?
conversation. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I appreciate the conversation. I feel like I understand a little bit more about context when you may have somebody like that on. Um, so yeah, I appreciate what you're saying.
And I do want to be clear as well, Nicole. Like, sometimes, and this was not the case with RC, sometimes it is the host being selfish. Sometimes the host is having a really fucking long day, and we just want to berate someone we know we're not going to feel bad about berating. That also happens. And that's not good of the host. But like, again, we're just human. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we're going to indulge in our less than fucking admirable qualities, while also sort of like agreeing with you generally, as a principle standpoint. And if you did these lives on a super regular basis, I think you'd kind of understand that sort of that flexibility is really sort of important. Like, at the end of the day, we're just people who are exercising our judgment in terms of what is the least harmful thing to do. We're gonna fuck up sometimes.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I get you. Thank you. Thank you for the conversation. I think I'm good.
Okay.
One last thing. If you ever come across a creator that you follow and you like, and then you catch them being like friendly or kikiing with like harmful people like that, I will just fucking unfollow them. That's what I've done. There's a lot of people on this app that I started out as friends with, trans creators, and they've done that what that. And I'm like, nah, F this person, because they're not safe. Like that, it doesn't make sense for you to do that.
I don't think she was suggesting we were being friendly with RC. But I will say I generally held that to be true as well. The one person who I couldn't get my head around was Werewolf.
What the hell is that?
Werewolf, the trans man who passed away just a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were, they were friendly with a lot of incredibly toxic transphobes, and like we did talk about it offline, and they said that like that's where they just want to dedicate their efforts into changing those people. And I was like, you're going to isolate all the allies, and they were like, yeah, I know I'm going to do that,
And it
and I
didn't
was like,
work.
yeah, they just didn't care, and I was like, okay, you know what?
It
You do
didn't work.
you, but like you're going when you surround yourself by that type of people, you're just going to become toxic. I don't think Werewolf did become toxic themselves, to be fair to them. Um, I think Bree has, but I think Werewolf to me is one of those rare exceptions where they did lean too far to the toxic people, but I don't think ended up becoming toxic. But otherwise, yeah, I think most people who try to like be friendly with these people end up becoming horrible people. But I don't think Nicole
Because
is
they want
suggesting we were being
approval.
friendly.
They want approval. Because here's the thing, those people aren't there to change their minds. Nothing you tell them. It doesn't matter if it's about grape culture, doesn't matter if it's about trans, whatever the case may be. 9 times out of 10, none of those people are going to change their minds. And the fact that you key with them and shit like that, thinking you're gonna do something. It's like, no, you're just like low key looking for fucking approval. That's what you're doing.
Well, someone messaged me. I don't remember who it was, but they were saying that they fuck with Atlantic. Check your DMs.
Oh God, what now?
As Atlantic said that, there was like three creators that popped into my brain, and I was like, I don't know if we're talking about the same one, but
Yeah, it's fake as fuck.
So whoever, there's someone I think in the trans community who became friends with them. Don't say who they are. Who became friends with them, and they have said that those people have changed their opinion, and they're less transphobic, which has blown my mind.
Uh, I don't know about that.
Do you have the history on that? Do you know who it is? Because I don't remember who it was who told me that.
I don't know about that.
Okay, they have not gotten better because apparently they don't misgender people now at all.
All they said was L gender critical people, but it's like they're still with the same narrative. I don't know. No.
Okay, got it. But yeah, for people in the comments, guys, for anyone in the comments who was like sort of like, I will just say that there was comments being made in the comments when Nicole and I were talking that were not helpful. Is all I would say.
They were like
Um,
antagonizing, trying to start drama or something.
yeah, it like I will just say that for anyone who was talking when Nicole and I were up here, I will say that some of you guys were not helpful, even though in your heads you were probably trying to be helpful. Nicole and I respect each other. I think or let me speak for myself. I respect Nicole. I like Nicole, and I'm not going to disrespect. I don't need people also to advocate for Nicole. Nicole's like I'm not going to infantilize Nicole. Like Nicole's perfectly able to be able to talk for themselves, and I will say that like y'all need to. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. It just I didn't. Some of the comments were not helpful and could have made this conversation go a much different route.
Right. I mean, I generally also agree with Nicole. Like, I don't really disagree. But not saying that she did this, but I would never, I won't say never because I have in the past, but I stopped doing that. Police somebody's life. Like,
No, I
no.
didn't. I
I
think
don't
I
think
was
Nicole
confused.
was.
I didn't realize Nicole was the person who was in the server, who was the one who was saying why are we platforming RC. I think she was joining to say, hey, that was actually me, and she was saying that my opinion is valid, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it was. I didn't realize that that was the context. Had she said, "Hey, by the way, I was the one who did this from the get," I think that conversation would have went very differently because I was confused. What is your point? What's the next step, Nicole? And I think it was more so what she was saying was, "I'm the one in Discord who said that. I have a very valid reason for saying that. I should feel free to be able to say that." And now that I realize that that was the context, it makes so much more sense to me. I do think, though, I really do think that if you support certain creators, you gotta extend good faith. Like it does annoy the fuck out of me when I have people in the comments telling me how to talk to people because it's like if any of you guys are able to do this, why aren't you doing it? But I'll have people in the comments who are constantly saying, "Oh, I wish Irish would do this. I wish Irish would do that," and there's like a lack of trust or something
Mhm.
that it's going to go the direction you want it to go, but it may just not do it the way you want it to. Or, maybe I'm going to mess up on this one. But it's like, I don't know, it's just this idea that everyone seems to think they know better. And it can be very irritating. It can be really, really irritating.
Well, I think it's fair. It's a fair thing to say because you have done it like before, Nicole. That in there, it's fair to ask why are we platforming this person because you can if you have information on this person that you can present to, let's say Irish or Mac when they're on a live, or if you're on Atlantic or Ken's live, to say, well, this is why I'm asking this question because I know A, B, and C about this person. It's fair to ask the question as far as why we're platforming it. But like Iris stated, it's a different thing to say you shouldn't platform or you should or those are
I don't
two
think she
completely
did.
different
Yeah,
things.
she didn't
No, no,
say
no.
you
I'm not saying
shouldn't. Yeah.
Nicole. I'm not saying Nicole in
Oh yeah,
general.
yeah, okay.
I'm just saying that's a completely different thing to ask. Why are we or why? Yeah, that's a fair question to ask, especially if you don't know, or two, if you know something that you would like to divulge to the host.
I think how you ask, look, I think it depends on how much effort you want to put into making creators feel comfortable, is what it comes down to. I don't expect a lot of hand holding, but like I do understand hosts who prefer a softer approach because it is incredibly mentally taxing. So, for example, if there's someone who your platform who you don't like, it's as simple as saying, "I understand this person is a racist. Is does anyone know what Irish's strategy is for platforming them?" Or something like that. More so, like assuming there is a reason as opposed to assuming this is being done for a bad reason or something. Because like I am gonna fuck up with RC. Like it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. I feel for some reason oddly responsible for him becoming homophobic, and it's not rational, but like based upon the conversations we had 2 years ago and how focused I was about mending his relationship with his uncle, and now seeing how fiercely homophobic he's become, I genuinely feel somehow I triggered that. And I will likely want to talk to him about that because I feel responsible for it. And I feel like I want to somehow fix that, even though I agree I probably can't.
I don't think that platforming certain people equals encouraging their behavior if you're debating their bullshit fucking points.
I think I generally agree with that. I do wonder though about certain people. So like who those whatever podcast guys that people wanted me to debate.
What happened with that guy?
Which one? There's three of them or something.
That Brian Cacueñema.
I don't know names. All I know is the Greep guy, and then there was the Mac guy. There was the guy who I talked to on Greep's Live, and then there was the guy I talked to on Mac's Live. I thought there was utility in me shaming them,
Hell
right?
yeah, that's that
But
Brian
I
guy.
but I don't think. Sorry, go ahead.
That was that Brian guy, the host, the one that typically talks, the one that ran away from you.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between the two of them. They're all the same to me in my head. But I see a utility in shaming them and embarrassing them and mocking them, just like they do to women on a regular basis. I don't know if I had the opportunity to debate them, if there would be utility in that, unless the goal of the debate is to mock and invalidate them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't always think talking to people is always a good thing when, like, I don't know if I always agree with that because, like, again, Manimal is a great example of that as well. I don't see any utility in even inviting Manimal up, even if I'm going to dunk on them.
I agree, but let's say you're in a situation where it's like, I don't know, I guess it depends. Because if you're debating what they're saying, just the fact that you're showing that what they're saying is fucking stupid, and then you mock them and humiliate them after as well, I think that's a win. I don't think that that's like,
I mean, I kind of agree, but like, I do, like, don't you agree? Like, I agree with Nicole that there's certain people who I think are so bigoted that I just don't see the point.
no, that she's also right. I mean, I generally agree with her. Like, I would usually avoid these people. Like, you will hardly catch them on my platform. It's rare for you to catch them like on my platform or me debating them in a different platform, somebody else's live.
Yeah, there has to be
I bring them up. You better trust us for a good freaking reason. Like, I'm not gonna be kikiing with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that's got to be we got to understand well, not us as far as, but the community itself. You got to understand that the process, it may not be as fast as you want it to be, but it is a process. Unfortunately, people who aren't in the community won't see that, so they'll see just the setup without the kind of like without the big reveal, and they go back and they just talk about the setup without having seen the reveal because they don't stay for the reveal. I think that's one of the most that's a line that's a very very fine line to cross. But if you're watching somebody that you trust, that you're a part of the community, you've been around, you've got to give the creator some leeway. You've got to give them a chance to be able to, especially if you know somebody like Irish who's going to do a lot of setup sometimes to get to the reveal. You've
Right.
got to give them that.
And also, like, I'm not against, like, if you want to tell the creator, can we please not platform this person, whatever, whatever, and they consider your request, then yeah, by all means, you know.
I do think, though, that at this point, people should recognize that when it comes to hosting people, Mac and I, our brand is we're going to host the most deplorable people. Our promise is we're never going to normalize them and we're never going to let them get the upper hand and we're going to embarrass them and we're going to drag them. But that means we're going to be likely platforming horrible, horrific people. Like, I don't think we've ever hit or shot. Oh shit. That's me. I gotta go. Sorry.